Hey guys, thank you so much for supporting our content and for subscribing. If you've not done so already, please subscribe, share and like our content. Today I'm chatting to Terashni Pillay. She is the CEO of a commercial insurance company. She's worked for companies such as Discovery, AIG and Marsh. She's a chemical engineer by training, and she also has a BSc in environmental sciences from Verts, as well as an MBA from Gibbs. I'm so excited to chat to you, buddy. Thank you so much for coming through. It's been a long time since we had a chat. How have you been?
Very well, thank you. And thank you for having me here.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been trying to get you for a long time, and thank you. Finally, I've managed to crack that nut. There's so much to chat about concerning your career. You've been one of those people that, looking from a distance, has done exceptionally well in your career. Your career move has always been upward. You've not been afraid to take on challenges. And I'm really excited and interested to find out what's really been the key driver behind your success. But before we get there, just talk to us about risk engineering. It's the first time I heard about risk engineering when I chatted to you. And you've been a risk engineer, I think, for a couple of years now. What is risk engineering?
So, risk engineering is a risk control function in an insurance company. It is an analytical position where engineers go out to physically quantify and identify risks that an insured may have for an insurance company and report back to them for the purposes of pricing and rating and risk quality, and whether the insurer would like to take on that risk or not.
Is it a common stream of profession?
Not here in this country, but certainly outside of our country. It's very much needed in insurance companies. We don't have many risk engineers here, and we don't have many risk engineers who are qualified as engineers doing that here.
Okay. Yeah. And what does it take to become a risk engineer? Because you are a chemical engineer and you became a risk engineer. What's the requirement?
Yeah, so the adage is you don't find insurance, insurance finds you. Okay. So I started my career as a junior process engineer on the plants in Vereniging. And one day I got a call from an insurance company, and they said, hey, would you like to join our risk engineering team doing insurance? And the first time I got that call, I said, hang on, I'm an engineer. Are you sure you're speaking to the right person? Yeah. And that's where I learned about the world of risk engineering. So that's how I found myself coming into engineering. I first started training and learning about what it was in the US at Eastern Kentucky University. Okay. And there I really understood that risk engineering is very closely related to fire engineering. Okay. One of the biggest perils that face insurance companies are the risk of fire damage, property damage, and something called business interruption as a result of fire mainly.
So does that mean you had to study further specifically for this field, or not so much?
The great thing about being an engineer is that you have the base training, the fundamental training of being able to learn really quickly, problem solve and analyze. And risk engineering is a form of fire engineering. So the base principles were there, but there was a lot of upskilling to do. I think the biggest challenge jumping from chemical engineering to fire engineering is really trying to take a holistic approach to risk. So understanding if this event happens, what are the knock-on events? What could the total and potential loss be as a result? And that's significant, as you know. So, for example, it's not just related to fire, it's what if something happens to this, what if something happens to the building? What happens if something happens to the supply chain? What happens if we have riots, if we have mass actions, if there's a catastrophic event, if there's a natural catastrophe? It's really a what-if scenario risk analysis type of position, but using the fundamentals of engineering to quantify it.
It must be exciting to get called up for an opportunity. I think already that takes some pressure off. But when you start the role, obviously looking to deliver, and given you had not done this before, this was new for you, you were coming from a plant. How were those few first months in that new role?
It was interesting. And I think it was interesting for me because I never have the sense that this is a new role, I may not be able to do it. Yeah. I always look at a new role, especially when there's challenges in it, as an opportunity to learn and grow. So when I got into it, I learned I don't feel like there's anything you can't learn yourself or from others or from, anything. So I got there, I started, I was very fortunate enough to go with my organization to the US. They gave a fundamental course, an introduction to risk engineering training, and then again a number of several advanced training, and you pick up things as you go and as you learn and as you engage and as you interact with people, and you refine what you do there. So it was challenging, but I never feel like it's challenges that are insurmountable.
Yeah. I like that perspective, because sometimes people box themselves. They say, because I've trained as a chemical engineer, I can only work in a plant or in something related to that. And you've gone completely different. Now you are a CEO of a commercial insurance company. You took the leaps of faith, going to Discovery, AIG, and Marsh. So I think that's quite commendable. Talk to us about your career at Discovery. I mean, you were heading up one of their business units there, still in risk engineering. When you got that opportunity, how did you get it? And how did you make the most of it? I know you were a superstar there, so if you can share some insights with us there.
Yeah, so how did I get it? I got it from, and one of the most valuable things in my career has been having mentors in the industry, having networked myself in the industry, and so I was contacted on LinkedIn. Actually, to this day, I think most of my roles have come from a contact on LinkedIn. So I was contacted on LinkedIn to connect with individuals in the business. I interviewed like everyone else, and that interview was a little different because it was all about challenging my thoughts and my perspectives on this industry that's existed for 100 years, and risk engineering has existed for a long time. And what they say, their perspective was, how can you make it different? How can you use what you do as a value proposition, a differentiator for us in attracting clients and broker partners to work with us? So the interview process was very challenging. And what I love about working for a firm like Discovery is that they really value your perspective, your innovation perspective, your ability to think creatively and laterally and bring that into your role. So what was it like starting a team at Discovery? It was wonderful. It's wonderful to be in an organization where you have full management support. And what I really wanted to do different was to bring a female risk engineering team. So we have, I'm not sure, but I think one of the first female risk engineering teams in Africa. And that was wonderful. Females are underrepresented in our profession, in engineering as a whole, so it was great to get to start that up. And not only that, we had a lot of room to play with technology, we had a lot of room to try new and different things. We looked at drones, we looked at virtual reality, we looked at a whole bunch of different technologies, and it was nice to be in a space where I could play with all of that in creating something.
Sounds like you did some exciting stuff there. I hear this comment a lot, especially for important roles where people say they can't find the right people. And you managed to build, you say, probably the first female risk engineering team in Africa. How did you source that talent, given already there is a limited base of talent in the engineering space overall?
That's where the value of your HR team and your support inside the business comes into play. Yeah. So, without the HR team, I wouldn't have been able to do that. But really, we don't have a focus on finding ready-made female engineers or ready-made talent. It's really important that when we do look at individuals, and I use this principle up until now, that we look at individuals as a whole. You can, nothing is 100% in life, and talent can be grown, it can be coached, it can be nurtured. So as long as the base is there, I think it doesn't matter what it is not, you can always grow and you can extend someone to fit the role that you would like them to play.
That's quite powerful. You're looking at the future, the potential. How do you then mitigate the potential risk that, because the people you're bringing on board are not trained to do the job, which may impact your delivery? How did you deal with that challenge?
So investment. obviously you are looking at someone who you know has a bright future ahead of them. You invest in upskilling them, in coaching them, in mentoring them, in making resources available to them so that they can be the best versions of themselves and show up as that when we have them join our organization and bring their value.
Awesome. I see you're a natural leader. Let's go back to your studies at Wits. You did a BSc in environmental science, and then you later on did a a degree in chemical engineering. Why did you do 2 degrees then? Was BSc not sufficient? You changed your mind? What happened?
It's actually an interesting story, and a story of following your taking a leap of faith and just following the pathway that life takes you on.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to be a doctor.
Oh wow!
And
okay.
so
same here, by the way.
And so I wanted to be a doctor. I didn't get in to medicine after my first year, after with my matric results. Yeah. They were really good results, but they weren't good enough. Yeah. So the fastest route to get into medicine, I was told at the time of signing up, was you can do a BSc, and then at the end you can get into medicine. Yeah. And this was actually a very career-defining time for me, because up until now it's sort of been a perfectionist, top achiever, always getting what I want. But here's a time where I'm facing setback. After I did my first year of BSc, I applied into medicine, I didn't get in. My second year I didn't, and then I sort of had to reframe. And I thought, well, I'm in my second year, I might as well finish my degree, but what am I really interested in? And so environmental science came up, and I ended up finishing my degree and doing my honors in that degree. And really relevant to today and our climate and our atmosphere is the environment, conservation, sustainability, ESG. And I didn't know it was all of this back then, but in my honors year, I actually met a chemical engineer. And I thought, oh, wow, I could be a mole in the chemical engineering industry from an environmental perspective. But when I got there, I just absolutely loved it. I loved engineering. The story of how I picked chemical engineering is I thought I was a little uncomfortable at the end of environmental science to say, what am I actually going to be? Am I going to work in a lab? I don't see myself in a lab. I was feeling uncomfortable. So I was like, what career can I pick that will produce something at the end? You study medicine, you become a doctor. You study law, you become a lawyer. And so it was between chemical engineering and actuarial science, and I literally just picked something. And I was fortunate enough that I loved it. It's where I learned a lot of resiliency. It challenged me. At that point in time, I was in my 20s, starting again with 18-year-olds who were not just smart, who were exceptionally smart. And I found myself proving to myself that, of course, I can go through these challenges. If you speak to many other engineers, you'll see that it's normally a 5-year degree, even though it's 4 years. And so, it was a great time for me to find that space. I landed up coincidentally into it, but I'm absolutely thankful for going into chemical engineering. The skills that it has left me with: problem solving, analytics, big picture thinking, being able to think laterally has been phenomenal, and skills that I've brought into my career up until now.
That's quite phenomenal. The story about how you didn't get to medicine, you tried again the following year and the other year following that, still didn't get in, and you didn't just throw the towel or give up and pack your bags and go home. You looked at, what else can I do? How did you pick yourself up and make sure you don't fall apart? You're trying to get something you're not getting, and still pushed ahead.
Easy, really. Because if it was really meant for me, I would have, and it's not for a lack of effort. Yeah. I actually think, when I reflect back on it, I'm not sure I would have made the best doctor. Yeah. I am a businesswoman. And this is really, all journeys and all paths led to here. Yeah. How I picked myself up, though, is the big picture. That failure or setback or not being able to do something is not what defines you. And it was really easy for me, using that perspective, to try something new, try something different. I was fortunate to have the support of my family, and I think a lot of individuals at that point in time may have been experiencing the stresses of life, financial stress, I don't know what my parents experienced at that time, but I really always had their full support. And that, I think, was really easy for me to make that decision to stay back and go into chemical engineering.
Yeah. And no regrets, eh?
And
that
no
you
regrets.
didn't go into medicine.
You know, I always think about it. It's really hard to know what you want to do forever when you're
Yeah.
18 years old. So I think of the BSc as a fun time, learning how to, you know, become of age, flourish in a new world, and think and learn, and yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And when you completed your chemical engineering degree, did you actually work as a chemical engineer after that?
I did for about a year.
Okay.
And after that, you know, my dad is very passionate about, and my mom, very passionate about studying and education. This is something that they've never had and they've always wanted for themselves. And my dad did a course at Wits Business School called Management Advancement Program. And he was so excited by it. He was so passionate about it. The information that he shared with me about business, and, you know, I was helping him do assignments. And as I was doing it, I realized I'm really interested in this stuff. And so I worked as a chemical engineer, but I realized actually business is where my passion is. And that's how I landed up, you know, being very open, and the need to make myself a generalist, because I never wanted to be, you can see when I did my BSc, I didn't want to be defined as something, you know, or stuck to a certain field. So looking into business allowed me to become a generalist, which is where I find I thrive.
Yeah. And then, of course, you went on to do MBA. Was that also, you know, to broaden your skill set and make you more of a generalist? Of course, with the support from home in terms of pushing for further studies?
Yes, so I was really fortunate in that my organization at the time was able to fund my MBA studies. And I went into an MBA because I really loved the business principles that I learned at Wits Business School. And I really wanted to explore it. I found I was excited by what I was learning. I also found that I was doing exceptionally well. You know, I was the youngest student in my class at Wits Business School, and I won the awards, the top awards for a syndicate member, and I think I placed second in the class. It was, I had individuals around me who were 10, 20, you know, 25 years my senior, and then, you know, getting the results and winning the awards and just being able to engage and contribute at their level really made me feel like I have a knack for this, and this is why I should explore it more. And that's why I went into my MBA.
Absolutely. And then, of course, shortly after that, you started getting all these opportunities opening up for you. Do you think that was a result of your MBA or just your broad skill set at the time?
Yeah, so definitely as a result of my MBA. I think just our environment and our context, we live in an economy and a country where there's a shortage of skills, so paperwork helps. It always helps. It helps build up your rapport, your credibility, and also it gives everyone who's looking at you some sort of not validity, some sort of comfort that they're dealing with an individual who has some skill behind them.
Yeah. Awesome. Because I find, you know, although MBA is one of those subjects that, or courses that people look to do, it doesn't always pan out for some people to open up the opportunities they are looking for. You know, they get qualified and then they're still stuck in the same job, doing the same thing, and they aren't moving. What sort of advice would you give to, you know, people like that?
Yeah, what I really found out at the end of my MBA was that, yes, you know, your skills take you so far in building credibility, but your own branding, your own networking, your ability to put yourself out there is what gets you noticed. So I really, and I believe in coaching in all sides of my life. So I have a business coach, I have many mentors in the industry, and their advice to me was, be brave, you know, be courageous, go out there, you know what you can deliver, have conversations, network, attend events, learn about the industry, and that's how you'll get your brand out there. And so that's what I did. And I think many people feel like it stops at an MBA, getting the degree, the credibility, you know, just going through the degree is what gives you that. And so maybe even feel entitled that your career will get somewhere. There's a lot of hard work after that. I think the fun part, for me at least, was getting the degree and the MBA. The hard part was putting it into action, applying it, and then getting myself out there.
Yeah, awesome. The issue of mentorship is quite common. I ask this to most of our guests. How do you approach mentorship? Do you just identify people in your industry that you're interested to hook up with, and then what do you say? How do you get them to agree to mentor you?
Yeah, that was because I had, up until the point when I finished my MBA, I'd never had a mentor. Okay. So, and obviously, I'd taken several classes and, during the content, and everyone that you read or aspire to, many global leaders, many Fortune 500 CEOs, they have mentors or they have business coaches, and they're open about this. And so I had that same dilemma. I thought, how am I going to find a mentor? And really all it comes down to is asking. You find someone who inspires you, who is, when you interact with them, you see that you can learn from them, that they engage with you, and you put yourself out there, you be courageous, and you invite them to partner with you in mentorship. I often find that mentors who feel that they can learn from me as well are people who I really connect with and learn from. And there are plenty out there. I think it just takes the first step to ask. Just ask.
Yeah. Awesome. What's the difference between a mentor and a business coach? I know you mentioned you've got mentors and business coaches. What role does a business coach play in your life?
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a significant difference. A business coach really is where you can go. Both of them have mentoring, coaching roles. A business coach is more focused around how to solve problems in business, how to solve problems, or you're not necessarily solve problems for you, but how to coach you into thinking as to how to solve those problems. Yeah. And a mentor is really about how do you, as an individual, I feel like mentors help you understand yourself as an individual and how to apply yourself in the business environment. But there's a great overlap between the two. Yeah,
okay, brilliant. Did you ever think you would become a CEO? I won't be surprised if you did, given you are an ambitious lady. But did you ever think you were, was there something that you were gunning for?
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like sometimes when we think about our future, we often think too small. And so for a long time, I've known I would get here. And I think when you're able to understand what you need to do to get there. And so obviously going to Wits Business School, getting my MBA, these are all little small incremental steps that take me to this goal. My goal is actually to be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. And so I'm on the journey, and I'm on the pathway, and this is a stop, like all the other stops that I've had.
Do you think it came sooner than you expected, or it came at the right time? This role?
I have found throughout my career that I'm always taking giant leaps. Yeah. And I think, I'm not sure if it came sooner than I expected or if it came at the right time. I feel like probably the right time because things happen as they should. But certainly all my roles and my movements have been steep learning curves for me. And I'm sure from here onwards it's going to be the same thing.
Yeah, fantastic. Now tell us, what does a CEO do? I mean, we know CEOs of companies, but we don't get the opportunity, most of us, to be in the mix of things on their day-to-day. You are a CEO. Just give us a feel of what does your role entail? What are you focused on? What do you do as a CEO?
The role of a CEO is not a technical role, it is a leadership role. So a lot of my role is focused around inspiring, motivating, mentoring, coaching, guiding people in our business to be their best selves so that they can be not only a better version for themselves, but really productive for our business. That is a key focus for me, in addition to understanding our business. What is our strategy? Implementing the strategy, building it with the team, and then achieving on strategic initiatives. Really having a big picture vision and taking the business towards that. Making sure that we have well-defined value propositions, that we're differentiated in the industry, we're delivering to our customers, our clients, our partners, and that we are achieving results, business performance at the end of the day.
Yeah, awesome. And for someone who is as ambitious as you watching this and wants to get to a CEO role, what sort of preparation do you think they need to go through to chart a path for themselves?
Number one, believe in yourself. You must see this for yourself, and you will know, and of course things will happen as they should, but you will know what you need to do to get there. And I think once you see that for yourself, once you upskill yourself, once you start putting yourself out there, being brave, inviting mentors into your life, looking for coaching. You don't always have to ask someone to mentor you for free. You can pay for it. So if you're in a position where you can pay for mentorship, that's something that you can do. And I think really making sure that you build a reputation for yourself in whatever industry that you work in. Because it's all well and good, you have a bunch of degrees behind your name, you have to have performance as well. So make sure that when you go out into whatever role you're going into or whatever role you're doing, you're performing at your best, and that you are being your own biggest supporter. Often, especially for women, we feel like we have to work really hard, we have to put our heads down, and that our hard work will get noticed. Sometimes you have to blow your own horn. So do that for yourself. And I feel like once you do that, once you excel in what you do, once you're consistent about what you do, and once you upskill, the world is your oyster, as long as you believe that you will get there.
Yeah, I like the point you mentioned about sometimes you have to blow your own horn. I think for most people that may come across as, am I not being proud or arrogant? How do you do that without coming across as proud?
Yeah, I think we have this massive dichotomy in ourselves between we must be seen as being humble and modest, and we must not, blowing your own horn will make you seem arrogant, as you just said, or something with a different or a not as nice perception. Whenever you achieve great things, no matter what it is in business or from a personal perspective, it's really important that you celebrate it. You don't have to send an email out to the whole world saying, this is what I've achieved, but you can celebrate it with your team, you can celebrate it with your managers, and you could send an email out, you could mention it in conversation, you could you could write about it. Many people are doing, and I'm loving that I see this, they publish their achievements on LinkedIn. That's something, these are all strategies that you could use to blow your own horn. It doesn't have to be, I'm so amazing, look at me, look at what I've done. It can be subtle, but you must feel proud about what your achievements are.
No, I love that. It's really about getting yourself noticed, putting your profile out there for people to see. Because if you're brilliant and you're hiding, no one will discover you, right?
Yeah.
I've also noticed a lot of high achievers, successful people, there's a lot of background work they do behind closed doors, things that the public doesn't see, whether it's waking up early, reading extra, going the extra mile. In your case, does that apply, and what exactly do you do?
Yeah. So obviously I dedicate a lot of time to my role is a thinking role. So I dedicate a lot of time to thinking and reflecting, just understanding, because I'm human myself, I make errors. There are things that I think about that I think I could have done differently. So I like to reflect on that, and I also like to reflect on feedback. So I take some time, especially from my team members, especially from my superiors, and especially from the market and clients. I take the time to understand and reflect on that. In addition to that, I'm always, I love learning. I am an academic. I'm getting used to new ways of learning. So other than going to formal institutions, I look at online learning platforms, I'm reading articles, and I'm reading books.
Let's talk about your upbringing. What role did it play in the success that you've achieved? You mentioned your parents are pro-education. They've sacrificed a lot for you guys, you and your siblings, to get to where you are. If you reflect back, what more can you share around that that's helped you get to where you are today?
Yeah, so I'm from a small Indian township in the south of Johannesburg called Lenasia. And that's where I spent the early years of my childhood. As soon as the areas opened up, my parents moved to the northern suburbs, and I was really fortunate to, because of their focus on education, to attend a Model C school at the time. I had a happy childhood. I had a lot of fun with my family, my immediate family, my extended family, with my siblings, and I think it was very supportive. I'm sure my parents did a lot of hard work in the background. They really made, I'm sure, a lot of sacrifices to ensure that my siblings and I had the childhood we had. But it was very stable, and I think that was a big element for me, knowing that I have that support structure and that framework back home as I grew and as I needed help and advice.
Yeah. And did you find that your parents, although they were pro-education, were they very hard on you guys if you didn't get A's or come top of your class?
Yeah, so culturally, that is a really important thing in an Indian household, to make sure that you come first in your class, you're getting all your A's, you're winning all the awards. And I'm really grateful that my parents were not those parents. Yeah. They really gave us the space and they were quite liberal about how we want to go about learning, making extra maths or extra science. Often they couldn't help us with what we were struggling with. So I think just the space to be able to learn and the way we want to learn that they gave us was really helpful. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that. I think as we wrap up, maybe one last question is to ask for our viewers, what else you think you would like to share in the form of advice for people watching this, people aspiring to be like you, any nuggets of wisdom?
Yeah, I think maybe just to add on to the blow your own horn piece that we did, I think in addition to doing all of those things, what's really important and maybe even counts more weight, and I alluded to it earlier, was that people will speak about you when you have great performance and you can back it up. So word of mouth is often a bigger promoter than you can physically promote yourself. So really important that you go out into the marketplace with honesty, with integrity, and with the vision to work hard for yourself. And finally, be bold, take bold strides, be optimistic, believe in yourself, be courageous and fearless. You can do it. And if you believe you can, the resources and the people who will support you will avail themselves, and it's up to you to make the most of it.
Wow, that's brilliant. Thank you so much, Terashni, for sharing your story with us and for all the advice and wisdom nuggets that you've shared. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope our viewers also will take a lot of advice from this and move their careers to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you very much.